was once a little parrot, and he lived in a beautiful forest. And every day he would delight in flitting through the forest and saying good morning to everybody. He was such a happy little parrot. Well, one day there was a very huge darkness that fell over the forest. And the little parrot knew that weather was on its way. And in that moment there was a huge crash, and a light spread across the forest. And suddenly there was a bolt of lightning that hit the forest, and there was this sound of thunder that ricocheted out. And the little parrot knew something was wrong. And suddenly he saw smoke coming from the forest. And he flitted up and he had a look, and he saw that the forest was on fire. And he knew what he had to do. He had to go and save all the animals. So he went around and he warned everybody that was there, all the animals. He said, "There's a forest fire. You must go to the river right now. Run for your lives." Well, some of the animals heard his words of warning, and some of the animals didn't. They were trapped. They couldn't move. What could the parrot do? He knew he had to do something. And then he had an idea. He took himself down to the river, and he flitted his wings in the water, and he got some water on his wings, and he flapped back, and he moved his wings so that the water from his wings would fall onto the forest. And he did this time and time again. This time the fire was getting more ferocious, more fierce. But still the parrot went back to the river, got his wings in the water, and went back, and he emptied his water onto the fire. The parrot was getting more and more singed. He was getting more and more hot. The air was getting so that you couldn't breathe anymore. Well, it just so happened that the gods, who were sitting up in their high places in their palaces made of ivory and gold, eating their sweet meats and their delicacies, were looking down upon the forest fire, and especially at the little parrot who was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Well, the gods began to laugh. What can a little parrot do? In such times like this, he should save himself and leave the forest. And they laughed. He thinks he can save and put out the fire with a few drops of water. He must be out of his mind. Well, all the gods laughed apart from one. And one of the gods felt very sorry for the parrot. He decided he would go down and warn the parrot and try and convince him that he should leave and save himself. So the god transformed himself into a very large eagle. And he flew down into the flight path of the parrot. And when the parrot came upon the large eagle, his eyes met the large eagle's. "What are you doing?" said the god. Said the eagle. "Why don't you leave now? You can't put out the fire. Save yourself, little parrot. What do you think you're doing?" "I don't need advice," said the parrot. "My good mother could have given me that advice. What I need is help," said the parrot. Well, in that moment, the god began to cry. Seeing the parrot with his determination back and forth, he knew that this little parrot had the strength inside of him. He knew that he wanted to be just like the parrot. He said, I'll help, said the god. "What can I do?" And as he saw the parrot going back and forth, the eyes of the god started to cry. The eyes of the eagle started to cry, and great big tears started to fall from the eagle's eyes. And as the great tears started to fall from the eagle's eyes, the forest began to steam. For the tears that were falling out out of compassion for the parrot, were falling on the forest fire, and they were putting out the fire. And in moments the forest fire was out. And the little parrot zipped down and he flew up. And there were animals in the forest who could see that the little parrot was up there in the sky. And all the animals that were there started to call out to the parrot, "Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hooray for the little parrot!" And the parrot twisted and darted like a ray of sunshine through the forest. And he noticed that all the animals were okay.